Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is we're going to go here to the back side underneath the bumper. As you can see, between the tow hook, between the exhaust pipe, there's going to be a star bolt right here on the hitch receiver itself. We're going to remove that, and then we are going to sandwich our brackets with the long end down in between that. Now we want to move it, you see you've got a slot here, so that way it's universal for both sides, so it doesn't matter which bracket you use. But you want to move that to the closest edge of that hitch. Now you see that we've removed the bolt, and we are going to put that now in between our bracket. So here's our bracket, and we're going to attach that now. And this piece of the hitch receiver has a rounded edge. That actually helps guide, if you notice, that bracket into place for an absolute perfect fit, and it helps keep that straight as well. So get your bolt down tight and you should be set, and then you're going to repeat that on the other side. And now try to get your brackets evenly spaced so they look the same on both sides, obviously. Again, on the right side here, you know, the best position is as far over as you can go on the hitch piece there, but you know, depending on where Ford cut that off, it may not be 100% exactly the same, so just try to get it as close as possible so that it's gapped the same distance from the exhaust tip or the hook on both sides. You will need to pull this exhaust tip back when you're trying to put the screw in right here, because that's going to get in the way. Not a big deal, you don't have to remove it. It's on a rubber hanger here. You just have to pull real hard. You get it out of the way. As you can see, it moves. You can get your bolt in there, and then you're ready to go. Okay, as you see, we've got one side installed. Now you can see this is also a tight fit right here for these little screws on each side. So you can use a bit for this, but if it's too tight and you don't want to take the exhaust off, you can manage with a pair of vice grips. They've got grooves, and you'll notice the grooves here on the outside of our bolt here. It'll grab those and you can turn those. If you do that, obviously you'll save yourself a lot of time from having to move that exhaust tip, but just be very careful that you're not scratching the powder coat finish on the light. But if you're very careful, you can do it that way. Gets it nice and snug, and then you're ready to move on to the next one. Another thing to notate, since this is upside down and you have to sit your nuts inside here for your bolt to come through, because that's what they fasten to. It's difficult to do it from being upside down, obviously. Get a little wrench or something to push that and hold that in place, and you should be all set. Now we have both of our lights installed, and now we just need to run the wire harness, zip it up to the frame, and connect it to the switch. Alright, so the first thing you want to do is feed your wire up and out of the way. So you see where this little opening is here, behind this plate that your light is bolted to. Slide your wire through there, alright, and then over this hole and behind the hitch. Now, take your wire again, lift it up above the hitch, feed it up there, then reach around from the other side. And pull it through there. Just like this. Now it's going to be located somewhere right here behind your spare tire. Now plug in your driver's side plug. Now you will also want to have this out behind that hitch the same way on the other side. So you're going to get your harness from the other side. You're going to bring your plug in, make sure that you bring it up and behind this cable, and then you're going to plug it in here. Which, by the way, this is kind of hard to do one-handed. Now you'll want to securely zip tie this harness to an existing harness that's already there behind your hitch so that it doesn't flop around. You want to get this nice and secure and tight. you're going to continue to do that to zip tie this to the frame rail and other locations here that are clearing out of the way as you go along here. The next thing we need to do before we zip tie anymore though is we need to remove this bolt that is a ground, as you see, and we're going to put this ground loop behind it. This is going to ground our lights. So then when we run our final wire all the way up to the front along our frame rail, and you want to keep this away from the exhaust. You don't want it anywhere near anything that's hot. So you want to keep it up and away from the exhaust and away from any moving components. Like you don't want it, to get pinched with the springs or anything like that. So you're going to run this along the frame rails, away from anything that's going to damage it. And then that will be our final step. Kind of dark up in here, but we'll take a look here. So we've got our harness connected to our lights. As you can see, got it plugged in. We've got our ground here on this wall. Again, it's kind of dark there. And then we take our harness up and we take it over the spare tire carriage there and over the frame rails. See, it comes out there on the other side of the frame rail. There's the tire, and we've got it zipped to the frame rail. Again, you want to continue to zip that nice and tight all the way along the frame rail. Make sure you don't get anything close to where it's going to touch the spring. You want to get it nice and secure. You want to keep it out of the way for the spare tire in case you ever have to take that down. And it goes right along our rail here. And again, up and over, up and over. You just got to work your way around. Make sure you don't get it caught in any place where there's like flexible rubber grommets. You don't want it to get pinched. There's some places along the body that you have that. You also don't want to get it anywhere near the exhaust. See, here's the exhaust, so I ran it on the outside here. The exhaust is on the inside. Come around, working our way around the rail. Get back here. All right, so you can see it go down the rail there. Back over again. And we get toward the middle of the truck here. This is just below the passenger side door. Trying to get this back so you can have some light. Along the frame rail again here. Got it secured to a wire harness that's already there. Along our frame rail. There's another harness here. Good place to secure it right here. This little bump out behind the front wheel. Now as we go up and under here, we got a little bit more light up here. Now we're in the front wheel well. So took it right from this point here behind this fender well. All right, so behind that fender well, pulled it up securely against a harness going inside. This is again on the passenger side fender well, and zip tied it to this group of harnesses going up into the engine bay right there. And that should bring us out right by the battery, or right by the firewall, and really right where we need to be to make our connection. All right, so now we're back topside again, and you can see right here where this wire came out. We zip tied it to the harness coming in right behind the battery. And here is our harness. That's exactly where we really need it. We can now make our connection right under here to our switch panel wires, and we can zip tie this to these other harnesses to keep it from moving around. Once we do that, we're done. And there we have it. That's our final cleanup and zipped up wires, and everything is nice and tidy.